They stole money, thousands of dollars. They gave out my personal information. Absolutely not a single care in the world about what they've done to affect the lives of people. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I will be talking about how my college fishing career was ruined and essentially the downfall of the Oklahoma State fishing team. So like, comment, subscribe for more content, and we'll get into today's video. So to start off the video, I wanted to preface a little bit about the Oklahoma State fishing team. We have had two, not one, but two professional fishermen come through the university. Zach Burge and James Elam, both fishing on the BPT, very successful. Could even say that they got set up by coming to Oklahoma State and competing for the team. And not only that, Zach Burge won a natty, I think in 2012 for Oklahoma State. Consistently, I mean, we were one of, like the top 15 or 20 fishing teams in the country. And essentially went from being, like I said, we had two professional fishermen, a national championship in there, and being a top 15 to 20 school in the country to non-existent. And that's where we are today. So here's the story. So before I start to dive into how exactly the team fell from where we used to be to where we are today, doesn't really exist even, I guess you could say. But I'll talk a little bit about myself and how I ended up being a member of the team, and where I come from and why I wanted to fish, essentially, etc., etc., etc. But I'm from Western Nebraska, currently live in Stillwater, 10 OSU. But so I've always been obsessed with the water, obsessed with fishing, specifically bass fishing. From a young age, I was always wanting to go fishing with my dad. He's a club tournament fisherman. Started fishing team trail tournaments with him when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Literally looking like a clown out there, getting snagged on rocks and stuff, setting hooks in. I had a big one, stuff like that. But fished those team trail tournaments with my dad until I was in high school. Fished for my high school team. I was my high school fishing team president. And when it came down to making my college decision, I literally only applied to Oklahoma State University. And the reason for that being, I had seen, some lakes down here that I really wanted to fish, Grand, 10 Killer, some of the other lakes, and I'd seen the Elite Series fish them, and I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. We don't have a lot of big lakes in Nebraska. Just wanted to get a cool collegiate experience, not only because I took a visit to OSU and I liked the campus, seemed like a really cool atmosphere and place, but the fishing opportunities down here were awesome, and having seen two pros come through here, and at the time, I kind of legitimately wanted to be a pro fisherman a little bit, not gonna lie. Because who doesn't? But so I only applied to OSU, came here with the intent of fishing all 4 years, fishing every single tournament that I could afford, because, we paid on our own dime, essentially, for that. Not really a lot of university funding or anything like that. But we'll get to that. So instantly after coming down to Stillwater, I was basically fishing anytime possible. My dad, thankfully enough, was able to lend me his boat, actually, to come fish down here and fish tournaments out of, and I was fishing just about every single opportunity I had just for fun. I fished 3 or 4 tournaments in the fall of my freshman year. In the spring, I fished, I think, 5 or 6. I missed almost an entire month of class. Like, I was freaking dedicated, because this is what I wanted to do, and I loved doing it. And we even got, excusal letters to get out of class. You just, shoot your professor an email and be like, hey, I'll be gone for these dates, because guess what? I'm going fishing. I was fishing at every opportunity. We had team tailgates during football games in the fall. And we would just kind of, set up a little tent, drink some beer, play some games, had a really good time, met even more people on the team. And that was it was perfect. It was awesome, and I was having a wonderful college experience. And then flash forward to, so I was a freshman in 2018, so flash forward to spring of 2020, so I'm a year and a half into school at this point. So spring of 2020, everything's good and wonderful, having a great time, met some great friends, fished at this point, quite a few college tournaments, having a great time, catching some fish, all that good stuff. First week of March 2020, my fishing team partner, Jake Jones, and we traveled to Table Rock, fished us a little college tournament at Table Rock, had a decent finish. I think we finished 25th or 27th or something. But in that time, MLF had recently acquired FLW, and they were putting on a little head-to-head, MLF style, every fish counts type of tournament in the summer for the top 2 finishing teams of each school at that tournament. And so my partner and I were lucky enough to finish second overall for OSU in that tournament. And I think we finished like in the 30s. And so we qualified to fish a tournament on Lake Winnebago. And then next week, COVID hits. So obviously the tournament was canceled that summer. We went home, went our separate ways, and had to move out and do the rest of the semester online. And this is where things get interesting. So at the beginning of the season, usually the first meeting of the year, there'd be a schedule printed out, and it would have the list of events for the year. And the last event on the schedule was a tournament the first week of June on Fort Gibson Lake in Oklahoma. After COVID and everything had happened, we were kind of wondering, was this still happening? Because a lot wasn't known about COVID at the time. So we got in contact with the tournament organization, and they're like, yep, we're still putting on the tournament. Everything's good to go. You guys are great. So we're like, awesome. We're going to go fish it. So showed up to the tournament, had another pretty good finish. I think we just missed qualifying for the Natty. We're like 11th place, 4 ounces out of 10th place because they took top 10 to the national championship. And I think we even had like 4 teams in the top 20. Had a great tournament for Oklahoma State. And we were lucky enough to have, unfortunate enough, you could also say, to have one of our teams win the tournament. And so, I don't know if y'all know this, but anytime a college fishing team wins a tournament, money has to go through the university first before it's able to go back to the team. And let me preface this a little bit by saying that even though we are filed on the university competitive sports office, we are essentially self-sustaining. I think that the university gives us like $200 or $300 a year. That's not going to support anybody. Because we had 8 to 10-ish boats traveling to most tournaments. And if you've ever bass fished, it's hella expensive. You can $200 doesn't pay for boat gas for freaking 3 days, especially if you're running. So we did all of our own fundraising, and so that money would essentially be going back to the team account for Oklahoma State. FLW/MLF, whatever you want to call it, contacts Oklahoma State, says, hey, you guys had a team that won this tournament. Here's, I think it was $2,000. They said, here's $2,000, for the tournament winnings, and so you can give that back to them. And the university said, what? And at this point, I had no idea anything was going on because we had checked the travel guidelines for Oklahoma State, and it said that any competitive sports travel was suspended until the end of the school year. Like I said, this tournament was in June. School year ended first week of May. So school year was over, contacted the tournament organization. They're still having it. Teams are traveling from all across the country. So we're like, we're from Oklahoma. We're in Oklahoma. Like, we're traveling to one of our home lakes. We're going to fish this tournament. We're good to go. So we didn't really know what was going on exactly, I guess. At this point, I had gone back home to Nebraska because I moved back home for the summers. And I was working my job. And I got an email, because I have my email alerts on or whatever for Gmail. Got an email from Competitive Sports Office, and that was when my college fishing career, little did I know at the time, was officially over. So here's the email. Let me read it off for you guys. So like I said, tournament was in the first week of June. This came in July 21st, 2020 at 3:22 p.m. Email subject line is titled, Sport Club Suspension Status. What? Good afternoon. Due to your current breach of university policy by traveling without authorization during a university-wide travel ban, the OSU Competitive Sports Office has determined to suspend the bass fishing team indefinitely. And essentially it says suspension status is defined in the sport club manual as follows. Suspension of sport club with suspension status is not allowed to access their club's funds or travel. They lose practice and event privileges and will not be eligible for competitive sports funding. They give us $200 a year. It says the sport club executive committee will determine the longevity of the suspension. Violations that occur while a sport club has suspension status will incur other sanctions, which may include expulsion regardless of the offense number for that violation. So here's where it gets really shitty. So the team that had won a couple grand. Like, we're not talking about like $20 here, like a couple $1,000s. And the policy of the team was that if an individual team wins a tournament or wins some money in a tournament, that money goes to the university, to the club, and then from the club they disperse it back to them because they won the money. We're not going to take that from them, and this is a couple $1,000s. In that email, it stated that we are not allowed to access funds. So the team that won that tournament, those two people, never saw a dime of that money. The university essentially stole their money. Thousands of dollars. The university stole their money. I don't think you understand how crazy that is. Everybody on the team was sent a follow-up email, I think maybe in September after that initial email came out, that said the suspension was 2 years in length. And conveniently enough, I was a sophomore at the time. 2 years would be the end of my career and I'm a senior now, and it's been 2 years since I fished a college tournament. So now we'll get into why exactly and what has happened since then with the team and with me. So basically what the suspension came down to is we traveled during a COVID travel ban, which, I mean, literally every other school was there, and their university didn't take a single issue with that. And I understand that we were probably in the wrong for doing that. And I'm not saying that we're innocent here as far as that goes. That is not the point of this video. But another reason was that travel forms had not been filled out. So let me clue you in a little more about travel. So the travel forms that were not filled out, it just states who's going to the tournament, the length of time that they're going to be there, what the route is that they're driving to the tournament, which, I mean, in bass fishing, I mean, it's difficult to have everybody leave on the same day. Everybody's got different classes, so that's kind of difficult to do. But regardless, I mean, they should have probably still been filled out. But that's not the point here. So travel forms were not filled out, I think, for almost a year and a half before this tournament occurred. And so between the travel forms and the traveling during COVID, they said you're suspended for 2 years. So it's actually really funny, that the travel forms not being filled out are what they took issue with, because they knew they weren't being filled out. They weren't filled out, I think, from 2019, early 2019 on. So essentially, basically my entire career that I've been there for a year and a half, almost 2 years, these forms had not been filled out. And you might say, hey, how do they know that you're not filling them out? Well, like I said earlier, when the team won money, the money goes to the university and then has to be reimbursed through the sports office back to the club. So we had multiple teams cash a check in a tournament, and the money came through to our club, no problem. And so it was going through the sports office, and there were no travel forms coming in, and we're getting our money, no forms being filled out, and they knew that, and they did not take a single issue with that then. And I want to state, I'm not trying to say at all that we're innocent, or didn't do anything wrong, but I just wanted to point out that they definitely knew they weren't being filled out and did not do anything for almost 2 full years. I should also probably state that it is not each individual team's responsibility to fill out the travel forms and get approved for travel for insurance purposes or whatever it is. It's that of the team president. They fill out a travel form, and then everybody's able to go. There's not multiple. It's just a single one for the entire team. So at the peak of the fishing team, like I was talking about, I mean, we finished top 15, top 20 in school of the year standings, which is pretty good. I mean, it's just a total summation of points earned throughout the year for placing good in tournaments, essentially. And I mean, we were top 15, top 20 school. We went from that with a membership of over 50 people, which is a decent-sized college fishing team, to essentially being non-existent now. From July 2020 until, it is April 2022, we have not been able to recruit. We have not been able to hold a meeting. We have lost all of our sponsorships. And the people who have not been able to fish tournaments, including myself, have not been able to fish in college for 2 years. And we were not a part of anything that went on. And we have tried multiple times to reason with the university and lessen the suspension, but they have not budged on that. And our current reinstatement date is September 1st. And they're saying, well, maybe we will reinstate you, maybe we won't. We can't even get a definitive answer on that. So another fun little side piece here, along with the university stealing money, is the fact that my fishing team partner, who at the time of the suspension and all the infractions that were incurred, was the tailgate team coordinator. He bought beer. He set up a tent. He held our tailgate spot, called the competitive sports office, trying to reason with them and say, hey, what can we do to essentially, shorten the length of the suspension? I want to do anything I can to try and help out. And he was very rudely told over the phone that he will never be a part of any competitive sports team at Oklahoma State ever again, or any sports club like that. So, and he's big into hunting too, not just fishing. So he has not even been able to do Ducks Unlimited events through the university. And the competitive sports officer told him, you will never be a part of anything ever again, so stop calling and stop talking to me. What a nice guy, am I right? So essentially, I was taking part in a Zoom call for sports officer training. Not that we are allowed to meet, we can't meet, recruit, anything like that. It's just basically for show that we're still, not disbanded, I guess, of how to, fill out travel forms. And they mentioned us and talked a bunch of shit, but that's another story. In the Zoom call, there's 150 to 200 people in there. And they're displaying the reimbursement forms that we had filled out as an example. And just so happened that my name and personal information were displayed on the Zoom call for over 200 people to see. It was my first name, last name, address, student ID number and phone number given out without my permission or my consent by the sports office. And I was pissed. So naturally, as soon as the meeting was over, I sent a follow-up email and was like, yo, like, what the hell? Like, that's not cool. Like, what? And there was like, oh, sorry, we won't do it next time. And that was the answer I got of them for giving out, my personal information. So if that just gives you any idea of the mentality of the people over at the competitive sports office, that's the one for you. So more recently, we've had email correspondence with some of the officers in the competitive sports office. And as far as trying to get reinstated, they have listed our reinstatement date for September 1st. Who knows if that's actually going to happen with the way that they have behaved and communicated with us. And so we actually met in person with them in December. And they said that essentially going forward, we're going to have limited travel privileges. So remind you, we have not been able to fish a tournament for over 2 years. And now when they bring the team back, I'll be graduating, so I'm gone. But just for the future of the team, they will have limited travel privileges, which means that they will not let them be gone for more than like a day or so around the actual date of the competition. And if you know anything at all, anything about bass fishing or college fishing, you know that that's just not going to work as far as being able to pre-fish for tournaments. I mean, we've been punished for 2 entire freaking years. And, our reinstatement date is for September, and and at this point, I think new members of the club just about weren't even attending the university when any of this even happened. And they're going to punish these people, and people come here. I came to Oklahoma State, and I have paid at least $80,000 to this university to be a member of it and to be able to fish. And remind you that the university does not pay for shit for us. I mean, they give us like $200 a year, like I said, and we support ourselves through our own fundraising, or supported ourselves through our own fundraising, and they are still limiting the travel, and these kids are going to be juniors who are freshmen when any of this went down. And they're not going to allow them to travel for more than 1 day around the competition, so why even have a team at that point? I don't even understand. I mean, essentially what the university has done is they have just killed the fishing team. They have ruined my college fishing career, and they just don't seem to care, Or we go out and we represent the university and spread the word about the fishing team and advertise for people to pay the university more money. I mean, the only reason that I am even here in Stillwater is because of seeing, the results of them having a fishing team, and they just essentially want to shut it down, I guess. I don't know. In more recent correspondence with the university, they have said they want us to hold election and try and, keep the team, I guess, like afloat as far as membership, because we went from having, 50, 60 plus members to I don't think I could name 10 people who even know a thing about tournament bass fishing who are in the group chat or are involved at all at this point. And so one of the other officers, who I don't think was even at OSU at the time of the suspensions, was sending out emails the other day and was called on his personal phone by the club sports office, and they said, why are you sending out emails about the team you're not allowed to recruit? And he said, how are we going to have a team or anything if we can't even send out an email? We're not formally assembling, nothing like that. I'm just sending out a freaking email, and you're still not going to allow me to do that. And also, we can't meet as a group, but we're supposed to hold elections. Like, how are you going to vote for somebody who you've never met in your life? And so that is essentially where we stand at this point. The university stole money from the people of the fishing team, thousands of dollars. I mean, like I said, it's not a small sum of money. Like, for a college kid, thousands of dollars is a lot of freaking money. They stole the money, still have not seen the money to this day. I'm sure they just pocketed it. I don't even know. Took away 2 years of my college fishing experience. I have not fished a college tournament since 2020, and I'll be graduating in a month, and that is it for me. That is the only reason I came here, and here I am today. And they gave out my personal information, have kept people from participating in other sports clubs who did nothing wrong, to where a kid can't even attend Ducks Unlimited meetings, and have just shown absolutely not a single care in the world about what they've done to affect the lives of people who did not even commit these infractions. I'm not trying to say we shouldn't have been suspended. I am not trying to say we did nothing wrong. What I'm trying to say is that the response from the university was extremely, 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 extremely unreasonable, and they have been nothing but cold-hearted along the way, along with all the other actions they've taken, and they essentially ruined my college fishing career and brought the team down. So, to wrap that up, I don't know, it sucks. It really sucks. When you come to a university to try and, do something like this, it's almost like if somebody went to a school, to go play football or something, and then your scholarship gets ripped away and you're just not allowed to practice anymore for the last 2 years. It's like, what do you even do with yourself, And I'm very passionate about this, and I care about this. And so that's why I'm posting this video today. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Probably a little bit long and rambling, but somebody needs to know. So hopefully y'all blow this up. Drop a comment below of, what you think, because I'd like to get some more opinions on this. Like the video if you hate OSU just as much as I do, and stay tuned for more fishing-related content. And yeah, it sucks.